on the FBI's most wanted terrorist list. If right-wingers said that Timothy McVeigh was their inspiration and they were going to act on his message, would the media give them a fair shake? Well, of course not. But the media has built up this domestic hate group, and now, unfortunately, it's leading to more violent attacks. We're going to get into that after the break, as well as talking about the latest on the migrant crisis, yet another mass molestation, this time in Sweden. We'll be back. This is the Alex Jones Show. Paul Joseph Watson with the fourth hour of the Alex Jones Show. Of course, Bernie Sanders, the, quote, anti-Wall Street candidate, has just endorsed the ultimate Wall Street insider, Hillary Clinton. The deadbeat communist Bernie Sanders betrayed all the Bernie bros and sided with the most corrupt corporate politician in America. Well, imagine my shock. Now, the polls have said that they're very inaccurate. They say it could be 55%, in fact, 45% who are not going to vote for Hillary, up to 85% who will vote for Hillary in terms of Bernie Sanders supporters. When it comes to the day in question, will those Bernie bros actually cast their vote for Hillary? Well, I think a lot more of them will than those who say they will when asked by pollsters, because, of course, they don't want that dirty little secret to slip out. But when push comes to shove, I think all the Bernie bros will line up behind Hillary Clinton, because if they're so stupid to fall for this socialist rhetoric in the first place, then that tells you that they're easily led. So even though Bernie Sanders has endorsed the most Wall Street friendly politician in America, despite being, quote, the anti-Wall Street candidate, I don't think this revolt against Bernie will last for long. On the subject of election news, we've got a big exclusive story on Infowars.com right now. Bush operatives sabotage Trump effort to make release of 28 pages part of GOP platform. Now, of course, people don't realize that the Bush crime family still has a lot of power. Just because George W. Bush has gone half senile and, spends most of his time painting terrible pictures in the bathroom mirror, doesn't mean that the Bush crime family doesn't still have significant power within the GOP, especially with Jeb Bush. So now, according to sources close to the Trump campaign, Trump himself insisted on those 28 pages regarding Saudi Arabian involvement in 9/11 being included on the official GOP platform after next week's convention. And it initially passed, if you read the article, you can read the plank in full, delivering transparency on foreign government ties to 9/11. So it passed a national security subcommittee of the GOP platform, and it went forward to the main committee, but was rejected, according to our sources, after pressure from the Bushes. So that's a big story up on Infowars.com right now. But I wanted to get back into Black Lives Matter because, of course, CNN told me, Sally Cohn told me that it was a really peaceful group, even as they drop concrete blocks on officers' heads, throw fireworks at them, shoot into their houses, threaten to kill white cops on Facebook. It's a peaceful group. People ask me if I get death threats. Yes, I get death threats every day, and I post them on Twitter. Not because I really care, not because I want them to have their accounts deleted. I don't give a damn. But it just gives you an insight into the fact that the tolerant, peaceful left are the most vicious, the most violent. So this was a nice, friendly message I received today. You're a little bitch. You live in London and talk shit about African Americans. It's embarrassing that you think cops aren't racist. Hashtag we the terrorists now. And this nice, friendly message that I receive ends, you effing bitch, you'll get killed. And that's from a Black Lives Matter supporter, which is a peaceful group, because CNN told me so. And again, you see this division that's being created. If you talk out, if you speak out, if you criticize Black Lives Matter, that must mean that you hate African Americans. That must mean you hate black people. The same with Islam. If you talk out, if you speak out, if you criticize the ideology of Islam, that must mean you hate Muslims. If you speak out against the ideology of feminism, that must mean you hate women. Well, no, because it's an ideology. Feminism is not a gender. Islam is not a race. And Black Lives Matter is not a color. It's an ideology. So yes, you can criticize it. Yes, you can say it's leading black people down a rabbit hole. It's ensconcing them in this grievance ghetto culture that's partly responsible for the fact that crime rates amongst black people in many areas of America are disproportionately high. And I'm sorry if facts hurt your feeling. If facts hurt your feelings, well, that's a fact. It's a statistic. You can go across the board and see it in every inner city in America. And on that subject, Mark Lamont Hill, this leftist race baiter, was debating a law enforcement analyst, Harry Hook, on CNN. Basically, Hook brought up these statistics that black people are prone to criminality, not because of the pigmentation of their skin, but because of the culture that glorifies criminality, because of this socioeconomic situation pushed by the left that keeps black people in the ghetto, keeps them dependent on food stamps, keeps them dependent on welfare in return for votes. That's why the left wants to keep black people down. We've gone over it again and again. But let's go to these two clips. First, Harry Hook lays out the stats, and then we'll get to the second clip when we come back. Here's the first clip from CNN.
When a police officer does do something bad, we have a space to not have other police investigate them, but instead we have civilian review boards, we have citizen review boards. These types of things actually give us the kind of transparency that we need.
How real is it that if you were on the job and you knew a guy was dirty, you would be worried about coming forward because what if it's not, a clean situation? What if it comes back on you? You need your brothers and sisters within the force to support yourselves.
Well, it's an issue, but when I was in internal affairs, we had this thing that was called the action desk. All right. Believe it or not, I think about over half the calls we got were from other police officers making allegations on police officers doing bad things on the street. But let's say, listen, Chris, this isn't a one-sided argument here, okay? We're talking about three different things here, all about the police department, but facts have got to matter. If we want to make some changes here on what's going on, the police have already recognized the fact that we have some issues that we've got to deal with, all right? Now the black community has got to also understand that they have issues that they have to deal with, all right? This is not a one-way street here. And now you got police officers, you got the Ferguson effect that we're dealing with today. It's because police officers are second-guessed right away. We had the incident in Louisiana and in Minneapolis, okay? We don't know what happened there, okay? Especially what happened in Minneapolis. All right, the investigation is still going on, but to come out with the rhetoric that the police officers were racist when there's no evidence to indicate that racism was involved has got to stop, all right? If that doesn't stop, and this thing about the disparity of blacks and whites in jails, that's got to stop, because I got statistics right here which will prove me right. In New York City alone, okay, blacks are 23%. They make up
of the population.
Right, of the population. 75% of all shootings, 70% of all robberies, and 60% of all violent crimes, all right? The whites, only 3%. Now, that is why there were more blacks in jail than there are whites.
But that's okay.
And now let me just finish here, and then you go, all right? So we look at that statistic, all right? They turn it around. The racial demagogues out there turn it around that the blacks are being picked on. It's not. So the facts in these statistics, all right, have to be addressed, and you've got to understand them.
So that's Harry Hook on CNN debating Mark Lamont Hill, and we've got another clip. We might not get a chance to play it, but he's laying out the facts that black people are more prone to criminality. Mark Lamont Hill comes back. He doesn't try to dispute any of those facts, and in fact, that's replicated in a Media Matters article on this issue. Of course, Media Matters, being an Obama administration front, literally meets with the Obama White House every week to decide who to attack in the media. They can't debate him on the facts. They can't answer the charge that black people are having more violent confrontations with police because they commit more crimes. Objective fact. We've been over it again and again. So what do? Mark Lamont Hill comes back and says, I can't believe you're saying black people are more prone to criminality. Harry Hook says, well, they are. Here are the stats. What do you say about the stats? He has nothing to say about the stats. What does he have? He has the word racist. And that's it. He thinks that wins him the debate. Listen, the fact, you can ask the question, are black people in America more prone to criminality than white people? Yes. The facts clearly show that. Does that mean that all black people are criminals? No. But that's not the debate. are Muslims more prone to violence than Christians? Yes, the facts clearly show that. Virtually every terror attack that happens is done by Muslims. The facts clearly show that. Is it because of race? No, Islam isn't a race. Again, that's not the debate. But the left has to make it about race. They have to ignore the facts and just label everyone racist to shut down the debate. Is it about the pigmentation of someone's skin? Is it about culture? Is it about socioeconomics? Well, yes. Young people, young black people, their entire subculture is based around the glorification of criminality, this hip-hop gangster culture. And you've had black intellectuals who, of course, are completely panned by the left because they don't toe the dogma, like Thomas Sowell, who have come out and documented this connection between hip-hop gangster thug culture and criminality amongst young black people. If that's all they see, if that's what they're told to aspire to, then how do you think they're going to behave? And then you've got the entire socio-economic morass, which black people are ensconced in. Again, it's based around the left keeping black people in the ghetto, keeping them dependent, keeping them on welfare, keeping them on food stamps in return for their votes. They don't care about black people becoming empowered. They don't care about black people becoming self-sufficient. They don't care about black people becoming independent, because all they're interested in is getting the vote. That's all they care about. But until we have this conversation on both sides of the equation about police brutality, but also about black criminality and what causes that, we're never going to fix the issue. And merely calling somebody racist is not an answer to the problem. We'll be back on the Alex Jones Show live. Don't go away, Infowars.com. We're back on the Alex Jones Show live. After the break, we're going to go to Blair White, popular new transgender YouTube commentator. She made a video about Black Lives Matter and was completely harassed, targeted, doxxed, had her family threatened. We're going to get the full story from Blair White. But again, this is a peaceful group. CNN told me, Sally Cohn told me. We're going to get more into that. But first, migrants rape, molest women at anti-racism festival in Sweden. It's our old friends, once again, the liberal basket case known as Sweden. This is up on Infowars.com. Women attending an anti-racism music festival in Sweden were raped and molested by migrant men in yet another shocking example of how the West is importing a real rape culture. Now, the police spokesman came out and said that the culprits, surprise, surprise, were, quote, foreign men. So you've got all these Swedish love and light hippies at this music festival, this peace and love festival, out there to enjoy themselves. These are probably the same people that held up refugees' welcome signs. And once again, we have a massive rape scandal on our hands, a massive molestation scandal. Remember last summer in Stockholm, the Swedish police were caught covering up a similar mass molestation. It's happened yet again. How many times does this have to happen before feminists say anything about it? In fact, the organizers of this anti-racism festival, they blamed all men. We saw the same thing after Cologne. Again, hundreds and hundreds of women molested en masse New Year's Eve. What did the local feminist groups do immediately afterwards? They came out and blamed German men, when in almost every instance the culprits were either newly arrived asylum seekers or supposedly integrated, assimilated migrants who had been there for a couple of years. This isn't a problem with German men. This isn't a problem with Nordic drinking culture, as the Norwegian government came out and tried to claim after they had a similar mass molestation. Now, during this incident, you actually had a woman raped in the middle of the audience, in the middle of a music concert. It's not as if this was happening, off on the sidelines behind closed doors. Right in the middle of this field, a woman is being raped. And again, according to this police spokesman, they used the same tactics that we saw in Cologne. Groups of men crowding around women, distracting them while others grope and molest. But not just groping and molesting in this situation. actual full-on